Yo, what's going on, Titan Nation? What's going on? Can everybody see me? Can everybody hear me good? We finna get ready to get this show started. And just let everybody know, hopefully it's a very good Thursday. Kind of got to show off the fresh cut, a little bit. I had to get back to being me. So, I had to go ahead and cut it up a little bit and everything. But we're going to get ready to get the show started. Hopefully, everybody is having a good day and everything. Make sure, again, y'all go ahead and like the show. Really help the algorithm and everything. And also, make sure you share this show out as well to everybody so that everybody know where the best content is. And y'all come on in and everything. So we're definitely going to we're going to definitely talk about Cam. We're going to talk about Cam signing his deal. He has been splitting reps with Will Levis, so to speak. And then Brian Callahan, had a press conference, and some guys had a press conference yesterday as they move into phase 3 of the offseason program. And a couple of guys were definitely speaking. We're going to probably get a few clips from A to Z Sports during the press conference, just some things that some guys were talking about. So we're definitely going to get into that. But again, make sure when you're coming in, make sure you like the show for me, please. That will be a huge help to me and also be a huge help for the channel. Definitely trying to build and everything slowly but surely. With that being said, I see Daniel Berry's already here. And I know more of you will be coming in as time goes on. So in that case, I just want to say welcome welcome into TNT Tonight. Good evening, Titan Nation. This is your man Blu Enforcer, aka The Truth. Welcome into TNT Tonight. I am your host. And we're going to get this show started. So again, make sure you like this show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new to the channel. And also definitely make sure you join the conversation. Join the conversation. Let's have some fun. We're here to talk about things, and we're definitely going to get down with it. So let's go ahead and let's get started with the show. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is the fact that Cam Ward officially signed his rookie deal yesterday. He officially signed his rookie deal yesterday. 4 years, 4 years, $48.7 million, fully guaranteed, a $32 million signing bonus, and also, of course, has that 5th-year option as well, which if he does any well within the first year or two, I don't see why they're not going to pick up that 5th-year option. So pretty much he signed, sealed, as the thumbnail said in the beginning of the show, signed, sealed, and delivered. He is in and he is ready to go. And he basically said, look, he was happy to sign the contract. He's ready to play ball. He's ready to play ball. And one thing that I noticed, was that, there was a video that popped out that the Titans showed where, he was throwing the ball. And I mean, this dude, he got some fire on his throws. There was some passes that he had to, I think, to Chig. He had one to DK, to Kabir DK, one of the drafted rookies, of course. Him, Kevin Winston, and Femi Oladipo, I believe, are the only 3 draft picks left who have not signed their contracts right now, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong, definitely correct me on that. But I mean, he has some serious zip to his throws. No joke, no lie. And it's very impressive. I definitely like what he does with the football. Can throw on the run and things like that too. I mean, he's looking impressive right now. I can't lie. He's definitely trying to earn the teammates' respect and things like that. And which is why I was excited when I found out he signed his contract. I'm like, good, no controversy needed. There's not going to be any holdouts or any you got to have offset language and all this stuff in the contract like we used to see in the past. And so I'm very much impressed when it comes to him. So definitely very impressed with that. And I like his demeanor. I really, really like his demeanor and how he's carrying himself so far. It does right now, at least at this moment, look like it's gonna work out just fine. I think we might have something here. Like, I think I was listening to a podcast with I believe it was Chris Sims and Mike Florio, and they were talking about Cam, and they was like, hey, everybody really likes Cam, and they're thinking this could be Tennessee might have something special, but yet that still remains to be seen. So we don't know just yet until he takes the field big time September 7th against the Denver Broncos. That's when we really gonna find out if he is, and for you wrestling fans, if he's like my guy Carmelo Hayes, if he is him. We gotta find that out. So I definitely like his demeanor and the way that he carries himself. Definitely has some zip on the ball. I mean, looks good. So definitely like that. But the thing that was coming out was that Cam and Will Levis are splitting reps. They are splitting reps. And I found that to be a little interesting and also a little suspect. I'm like, why are you splitting reps with Will Levis? I mean, isn't it that Cam Ward should have the job already? But then when I really sat back and thought about it, because for example, there was a Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports had put out a post and put out a quote basically saying the Tennessee Titans are on a PR war path for Will Levis, and it's what's best for both them and him. In the end, they hope to get the most they in the end, they hope to get the most they can for him, and he hopes to be seen as valuable to his new landing spot where he gets to begin again. And for everybody's sake, the collective hope is that the improvement is real and that his strong offseason story writes itself because he really is a valuable NFL player. That's reason number one to hold a competition. And when you hear that, I absolutely agree with that. I absolutely agree 100% with that. I'm like, nah, I get the point. I mean, they're saying it's a competition, but it's really not. Say how you feel, TV. What's up, my brother? What's going on? It's like, really, it's a it's a competition, but it's really not. Come on, y'all. Anybody who hasn't been living under a rock knows week one, Cam Ward is the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. It's pretty much done. Cam Ward will be under center for that first snap in Denver. There is no way it's going to be anybody else but Cam Ward. It is not going to be Will Levis. But they're basically trying to pump up Will Levis as much as possible to garner some interest because somebody out there is still going to need a quarterback. Somebody out there is going to need a quarterback, whether it be a starter or a backup. You know, I mean, so somebody else. New Orleans still needs a quarterback because right now, the only quarterbacks I believe they have are Spencer Rattler and Jake Hayner down in New Orleans. So New Orleans needs a quarterback. Pittsburgh, you know, Pittsburgh needs a quarterback. They got Mason Rudolph, and I'm trying to think who's the other quarterback in Pittsburgh right now besides I'm trying to see. I'm trying to see who is right now the Steelers quarterbacks right now. But I mean, I know that the Steelers are trying to wait on Aaron Rodgers. You know, they're trying to wait on Aaron Rodgers, but I believe Mason Rudolph is one of their only. Okay, Will Howard. See, they got they got Will Howard and Skylar Thompson as well on their roster at the moment. At quarterback. And I didn't even realize Kenneth Gainwell is with the Steelers now at running back. But yeah, that's their quarterback. Will Howard, Skylar. So really, they don't have a quarterback either right now. So there's a few teams out there that still need quarterbacks. That definitely need quarterbacks. Again, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the show as you come in. But they're really trying to build up Will Levis's stock so that they can trade him and at least get something for him. Probably going to be doing the same thing with Traylon Burks, too. They're trying to see if they can stock him up. Maybe somebody will give up a 6th, 7th round pick for Traylon Burks, maybe. So, we definitely got to find out. Bottom tier collector, what's up? I think the quarterback competition is to try to squeeze the most value out of their trade bait if you pick up what I'm putting down. Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're talking about. That's basically what they're doing, is trying to garner up as much trade interest as possible for Will Levis. We all know Cam Ward is going to be the guy, and that's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Why in the world would Will Levis need to be on this team? It does him no benefit, and it does the Titans no benefit. Plus, you already got Brandon Allen, who is pretty much going to be the backup quarterback because he knows the system. He knows Callahan. So pretty much that's going to be the two quarterbacks going into week 1. Cam Ward, Brandon Allen. That's basically your quarterbacks. So they're definitely garnering up interest. And when I heard splitting reps, I didn't believe any of that. I'm like, look, it's for trade purposes. It's not like it's an actual competition. So anybody who's reading into that saying, oh my God, the Titans are making a mistake. Will Levis can't win the job. He's not, y'all. He's not. It's already game, set, match. The second they drafted Cam Ward number 1, it was over with before it even started. So, Bottom tier says, I still like Levis and wanted him to be that dude so bad. Winning comes first, though, and he had his shot. Absolutely. I want to win. And yeah, Will had his shot. He had a shot in his rookie year to do something, and he had a shot last year, and he gave away more games than win. We were 3-14. There was at least a good 3 to 4 games. There was at least a good there was at least a good 3 to 4 games last year that Will Levis blew single-handedly. Again, there was single-handedly 3 to 4 games last year at least that he blew by himself. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And there was nobody to blame but him. Nobody. And I'm trying to pull up those particular games because, I mean, the first one, you Chicago. Chicago, definitely. Chicago, we had the game 1, he blew it. That's 4. The Jets game, he blew it. That's 5. The Indy game at home. Made a mistake. That could have been 6. That's 6. One of the 2 Jacksonville games at Jacksonville could have been 7. There's possibly 7 or 8 wins. There's about 7 wins there. So there's at least, again, 4 games at least that Will Levis blew by himself. It wasn't the offensive line. It wasn't the defense. It was Will Levis being stupid. And so, he had his chance. And he blew it. He blew it. Did Will Levis win any of those 3 games? I checked out by week 6. I think I checked out after about week 4. Say How You Feel says, you and me both, I want to win. Absolutely. It's about winning. At the end of the day, Brian Callahan's job is going to be determined by wins and losses, not so much development. Big Bad John says, and welcome to the channel, by the way. Pretty much we're all in the same boat. We all want to win and not end up with the number 1 pick again. Levis was a walking meme from week 1. You sure got that right. No lies told there. I mean, week 1, 2, and 3. All 3 of those games, he had a meme moment. And it wasn't even funny. It wasn't even funny. So, again, not complaining if Cam goes off and we have a bad draft pick. However, that roster is far from Super Bowl ready. Would be nice to have a top 16 pick for a running back, wide receiver, edge, or linebacker. I agree. I think next year it has to be an edge rusher. That's probably your top pick. Maybe that or a wide receiver. I would say that have to be the top of the list of the priority. I would think so. But absolutely, there is no competition. Definitely. So I definitely do like that. But I want y'all to hear from Brian Callahan on the essence of the move from phase 2 to phase 3 and just what we're trying to do.
Yeah, you get a chance to actually, see guys work and compete. Everything so far in phase 2 is very individual centered as far as position groups, and it's unit centered. So you're doing a lot of things with unit, but you're not going up against anybody else. So you get a chance to actually guys compete a little bit. No pads on or anything like that, but we get a chance to see now the schemes. Guys picking up things in real time and real speed and execution against an actual defense and an offense and special teams. So that's the part that's your next step. So it's very teaching focused here in phase 2. A lot of things schematically you're trying to get better at, working a lot of technique and fundamentals, and then you get into phase 3 and you get a chance to see a little bit more application of those things you're working on. So excited about that. It's a good part of the off season. Last ramp up before training camp, really, when you're actually going against each other.
And so I definitely do like that. You're trying to really kind of, do the teaching and all that stuff. And then, wrap it up for training camp. Because we're getting down to the nitty gritty. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. Mandatory mini camp is probably coming up in the first part. I want to say, you're going to have some major OTAs in the next few days. And then, you're going to have mandatory mini camp probably somewhere in the beginning of June. And then after that, I believe after June the 12th, they're off. They're going to be off until maybe the end of close to the middle of the end of July. And then that's when it gets real. That's when it gets real. So, that's going in from 2 to 3. But also, he said something about what's different this off season, than last off season. Here's Coach Callahan on that.
Well, we'll see if it pays off. I can't make any statements about any paying off now. We'll see in September, October, and from then on. But I reflected really hard on what I want the offseason to look like. It is definitely structured much different, just in terms of what we're emphasizing and how we're emphasizing it, how we set up our competition amongst our team, how we're going about the team building process. All those things have changed a little bit for me focusing a lot more on the things that win and lose your football games at the end of the day. Things that the penalties, the negative plays, the turnovers. Those are the things that we're focused heavily on and trying to make sure we do a better job executing those things in the moment. There's a lot more to it I could talk about. I'd probably take up the whole press conference probably, but definitely changed a little bit of the philosophy and formula, and hopefully.
Okay, so there he's basically saying, and thanks to A to Z Sports again for that. He's basically saying, I like the fact that he did go back and reflect and say, I want to do some things differently that didn't work last off season that may work. And he's really emphasizing on competition. And I like that. I like the fact that they're really focused on competition, and that's building the team camaraderie. You got to really, the best time for competition when you're against each other, because if that does anything, that's going to bring a team together. And so at the end of the day, when it's time to go up against another team, instead of all that infighting and bickering between each other, you're gonna fight. You're gonna fight for each other. You're gonna compete for each other and things like that, because you're not gonna want to let your teammate down. You're not gonna want, you're not gonna want to let down the man next to you on your left or the man next to you on your right. So I do like that. I know they've been split up into like 7 or 8 different teams, and they have like a point system and things like that. Maybe, the winning team maybe gets, maybe a day off or 2 for practice for maintenance treatment or something like that. Or, it's team building or something like that. But I do like the fact that things are a little bit different, because we remember with the old regime with Mike Vrabel would not change anything. Vrabel would think what he does works, and I shouldn't harp on him too much, because I know he's with the New England Patriots now, and he's not a part of this franchise anymore, but he wouldn't have changed up anything. He would have just blamed the players. Callahan has put more of an accountability on himself, saying, I basically, like, he's thinking, well, I need to do some things differently. Let's change it up a bit. And I can appreciate that. I could definitely appreciate that. Let's see. Bottom Collector said there's plenty of film on Callahan being tough on the team. I think he's got the mentality to be a head coach. Just need to get it right with culture and play calling. And yes, you got to call the right plays. That much is true. And I think that's what they're trying to build, is a culture, which is why I think with the Cam Ward selection, I think you reset the clock. You don't just fire Callahan if Cam Ward year 1 doesn't go completely according to plan. I'm like, let's give it time to marinate. Let's give it time to cook. You can't just start putting the ingredients together and then before you even put the dish in the oven, you're like, nah, I'm done with it. I'm scrapping the whole thing. It's like, let's see how this marinates. Let's see how it cooks. When you put these things together, you're trying to turn the recipe into a really good dish. And dishes take time to cook. So you can't just say, I'm putting this in and it's got to be, it's like you go in, refrigerator, start timer, ding, 5 seconds later, ding, and the recipe and the dish is done. Most dishes are going to take 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, an hour to cook. So this may take more than 1 season to put it all together. There's going to be some ups and some downs with Cam Ward and with the rest of the team. So I think there's definitely got to be some patience there. But Big Bad John mentioned something. He said, hopefully Snead pans out and not be a bad trade. But as of now, it's starting to look like it's a bad trade. Here is something that he mentioned L'Jarius Sneed. I believe he mentioned Traylon Burks a little bit too. This is what he said about L'Jarius Sneed.
I think there's a healthy balance there. He's coming back injury wise, so the rehab process is ongoing. He's in a good spot. Excited about where he's at, but there's definitely a part of like to practice more. I think he's on the same page too, where you got to balance those things. There's a management part for a lot of players, but there's also you got to practice and get better at your craft and continue to improve. So we'll balance that. I feel good about where that process is for us and for him. I think he's well on the same page as well.
Now that was Brian Callahan on L'Jarius Sneed saying, excuse me, that right now he's rehabbing and seems to be on track. And really, all of that is going to be up to L'Jarius Sneed himself to get him back to form. I think still he's a good cornerback. He has some issues, and I think it was just year one. I think now his feet, he's got his feet wet in this defense. Maybe a little bit different than what he's used to, but I still think there's still hope for L'Jarius Sneed. So I really think there's some chance there. And of course, we got Jarvis Brownlee, and that dude is a dog. And I'm with Bottom Tier Collector. He like, I don't want Cam to go through what Mariota went through. 5 OCs in 5 years. I agree, because if you keep changing coordinators or keep changing coaches, that is a detriment to the player. The player's never going to get comfortable if he has to keep learning a new system every time. Patrick Mahomes, why do you think he's been so good? Because he's had Andy Reid his entire career. He hasn't had anybody different. No one different. Jalen Hurts just won a Super Bowl. And by the way, the NFL owners voted in favor of keeping the tush push play, by the way. So you'll probably see a lot more of that from the Eagles because they were at the owners' meetings this week. Jalen Hurts. A lot of people didn't believe in him as a second-round pick. But, you had Nick Sirianni, who just got extended, a multi-year extension, by the way, a couple of days ago. He was around the organization. So, really, Jalen Hurts didn't have to change anything, even after Doug Peterson was gone. After Doug Peterson was gone. And I'm trying to remember who was the coach before, but I want to say it was Doug Peterson. And, a lot didn't have to change from that. So, it's about continuity. And when you have that, it really works itself out for the better. And so that's what you need to have, and it's what you got to have in this league if you want to be successful and everything. So, I just wanted to just add to that. And Bob Tier said Jarvis Brownlee, Amani Hooker being 4th, 5th round picks are overachieving. Absolutely. Big Bad John, what do you think about the O-line? That I think that's something that remains to be seen. One of the offensive linemen, Dan Moore, also got to speak as well. And And so this is something where he said, basically what showed up on film compared to the sack numbers. This is Dan Moore.
It says I gave up however many sacks, but you look at technique, you look at the film. I'm in front of defenders, and that's what I'm focused on doing.
How much you want to kind of be a tone?
Film that I looked at, numbers.
Now he said he wants to stay in front of defenders, and this is where he said he wants to look to improve.
2025. Yeah, I'm always looking to get better, regardless of what the numbers say. I thought I played well last season. The Titans thought I played well last season. And that's where I'm focused on getting better. And like I said, Bill's coaching me up on things that I need to work on, things that I can tweak in my game, and that's all I'm looking forward to is the future.
How much was the
Now the fact that Bill Callahan gets his hands on him, it does give me a little sign of hope for him. And I'm hoping that we didn't overpay. We paid a pretty penny for him. But I do think on paper, this offensive line is better offensive line than we've had in the last few years. But we still got to see it on the field. So that's what we're waiting on. We got to see it on the field. Moving J.C. Latham back to right may end up being the best move. And we'll just have to see if that works. Kevin Zeitler being here, I think is good. We drafted Jackson Slater, a guy that can play center or play guard. And I think I'm trying to remember. It was somebody that might be on the team that could be, and it may have been Jackson Slater, a guy that could be the heir apparent to Kevin Zeitler being there. So I think on paper, the O-line looks good, but we still got to see it in action week one. Hopefully everybody can stay healthy when it comes to that. But in moving on, definitely in moving on, we're talking about all of that and the sheer disrespect that Cam Ward has been shown. We all talked about the primetime games and things of that nature. And the primetime games and all of that, and how the Titans haven't had any and things like that. I know that people are upset about that. And again, I said it last week that I thought it was a good thing that he didn't get any primetime games. But I want y'all to hear, y'all saw me share this on Twitter, but I want y'all to hear Kyle Brandt. And I give a shout out to Good Morning Football because they are the only show nationally that gives the Titans any respect, any love whatsoever. This is Kyle Brandt going off with about the disrespect.
Takeaway is the Titans have zero primetime games, zero. And I'd like to say I can't believe it, but I can completely believe it because this is not only a franchise that's routinely disrespected, that man is by far the most overlooked, underrepresented, disrespected #1 overall pick quarterback in my lifetime. Yeah. Understand this. Cam Ward, who is big and strong and cool and friendly and professional and has a very interesting backstory, is getting nothing. You will not see him in prime time because he's the quarterback of the Titans. And I have comps for you here. I have comps. You might think, well, it's a rookie quarterback, a big deal. Last year, Caleb Williams, #1 overall pick, 3 primetime games. And you might say, well, Chicago's a big media market. Okay. How about Bryce Young? He plays for Carolina. He got 2 primetime games as the #1 overall pick quarterback. Go back a year before that even. Trevor Lawrence, media market 32 as the #1 overall pick quarterback. He got a primetime game. And this Cam Ward is saying, why don't you love me? You can't even toss me the back end of a primetime doubleheader that starts at 10 a.m. Eastern that no one will watch anyway. Just give me a chance here. You can't just give me a charity Thursday night game. It's like, you literally don't remember the Titans. And I don't know what Cam Ward ever did to anybody to make him so unlikable, so uninteresting. We would rather give 10 primetime games to the Shedeur Sanders deal than 1 to Cam Ward, who was drafted 5,000 picks ahead of him. I want to see this guy, but apparently no one else does. Get to the wild card round.
And that was Kyle Brandt talking about not giving Cam primetime game. And I'm trying to find the clip of the guy who basically said, okay, I think I might have found it. This is Mike North, the vice president of broadcast planning. Listen to what this idiot says as far as why the Titans didn't get primetime games.
Yeah, it wasn't intentional. I mean, you know how this works. We've got probably a dozen schedules in front of the commissioner in that last week. Some of those had the Titans on Monday Night Football. Some of them had the Titans in the TBD pool for Saturday for the NFL Network. It wasn't a conscious effort going in maximum 0 Titans primes. It was more about a mixture of all the rest of what has to go into the soup. You don't draft your way into prime time. You play your way into prime time. So, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. But that was Mike North, the NFL Vice President of Broadcast Planning. And that last quote, he contradicts himself. And the NFL contradicts themselves. He says, you don't draft your way into prime time, you play your way into prime time. And judging by what Kyle Brandt just said, and I believe that was either earlier this week or last week when they released everything out. That's contradictory. Saying you don't draft your way to prime time, you play your way to prime time. Obviously, that is incorrect. Because like Kyle Brandt said, Caleb Williams was the number 1 pick, hadn't thrown a ball yet. You gave the Bears 3 games, 3 primetime games. And like he said, you're like, oh, well, Chicago's a big market, which it is. Which Chicago is a big sports market. Absolutely. But you gave him at least 3. If Cam, if Chicago was even a really, really good team, they're probably getting 5 or 6 with Caleb Williams as the number 1 pick. Like you said, Bryce Young was the number 1 pick for Carolina. And we knew Carolina stinks. They got 2 primetime games with Bryce Young. And Carolina sucked. And we know Charlotte is nowhere near as big of a market as Chicago or Houston or New York or anything like that. And he got at least 2. If Shedeur Sanders had been drafted number 2 overall, I guarantee you Cleveland would have got at least 1 to 2 primetime games on that alone. The Jags, they sucked. And Travis Hunter got him a primetime game. So what that guy said with the NFL is a bunch of bull crap. It is the fact. If Cam Ward was on any other team, if he got drafted by the Jets, if he got the Giants, as terrible as they are with Jackson Dart, they got primetime games. And I know it's New York, but it's the effing Giants who stunk worse than the Titans do. So this whole you play your way to prime time, I think that's a bunch of BS, and we all know that. Because the fact of the matter is, Cam Ward is the number 1 pick. He should at least get 1. You would want to see the very top pick play and see what he's got. But I think it's I said it last week. I think it's a good thing. Why? Because he can fly under the radar. The microscope doesn't have to be on him right away. Let that microscope be on some other guys. Meanwhile, he just quietly builds and gets better. It's the calm before the storm. And then when he does get the showcase and he shows out, and then, ESPN all to be like, oh, yeah, I knew it all the time that he had it in him. I knew all the time. I was with Cam Ward the whole time. And we can all call pineapples on that. Be like, y'all didn't see this coming. We did. We knew this was coming. But y'all didn't. Y'all gonna act like, man, I didn't see this coming. I'll be like, we already knew this, but y'all didn't give us the chance early on. It's just, we gonna build this thing up. We're going to build this thing up because it's going to be a powder keg. And when Cam Ward explodes and looks great, and then everybody going to want to be on his jock tail, we're going to be like, no. Y'all can't come jump on with us. You can't jump on with us now. Get out of here with that. We don't like bandwagoners. We don't like fair weather. So that's all I really got to say about that. Probably going to get ready to wrap up this show. Didn't really have much more to talk about on that. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I was missing. Anything else that I might have been missing. I know the NBA playoffs really picked up. First off, Oklahoma City looks unstoppable. Dang. They're up 1-0 on the Minnesota Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals. And then Indiana comes back from behind, beats the Knicks in Madison Square Garden in game 1 with a buzzer beater 2, which could have been a 3 by Tyrese Halliburton, forcing overtime. And then Indiana wins it in overtime. I like Indy. I like Indy in, I want to say Indy in 7. I think Indy wins in 7, but with them winning game 1, I can see it where it's over with in 6 at Indiana. OKC, I don't know if Minnesota's going to be able to stop them. I don't. I mean, and the thing about it is OKC has a bunch of nobodies besides Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who just won MVP, by the way. They got a bunch of nobodies, and they just play together well. They are extremely well coached. And so I think it's Indy and OKC in the finals. Yeah, probably not flashy, but it would be good. It would be good. So I think that's where the NBA Finals is headed. Let me see. I'm trying to think of something else. Oh, Grizzlies wise, shout out to Jalen Wells. Hopefully he continues to recover. Him and our guy Zach Edey, big center, made all NBA rookie first team just the other day. Also, congratulations to Triple J, the Block Panther, making second team all NBA defense. So shout out to him for that. Definitely, I mean, we have this is a big off season. We got to figure out, do the Grizzlies need to make a move? Do the Grizzlies need to make a move? And that's something that I think we're going to find out in the coming weeks. So I think that, the Block Panther, Jared Jackson is definitely a player. I think, I'm definitely going to have to see how this coach is going to go, which I don't really have a lot of confidence, but we're definitely going to see. I mean, they would talk about Giannis. Giannis wants to play somewhere with no tax. They're talking about his future. If it would not shock me if we tried to swing a trade for Giannis. The question is, who are you going to give up? You're going to have to give up. Ja is probably not touchable. I mean, Ja is probably untouchable. The question is, who are you going to give up? Bane or Jaren Jackson Jr.? Most likely, I would probably say you would probably live with giving up Bane. Most likely. And I would hate to do that, but I could see it happening. But everybody, I think that's going to just about do it for tonight's show. If I forgot anything that you think I should have mentioned, please drop it down in the comments. Of course, make sure that you continue to like, share, subscribe. And you can definitely watch it back if you're late to the show. Glad to have you in. Shout out to everybody that was here. And I appreciate everybody. I thank y'all for tuning in to TNT Tonight. I'm your host, Chris, a.k.a. Blu Enforcer. And I will check y'all out. I will definitely check y'all out next week. Some new things are going to be coming. I'm going to really get to work on some things and really try to iron out some things, and definitely try to work on doing some things for maybe a little bit of college football as well as the NBA for next season. So I'm definitely working on some things. Definitely going to be trying to put some stuff together. So it's been a long process, but we're definitely going to work that through. So thank y'all for tuning in to TNT Tonight. I'm your host, Chris, a.k.a. Blu Enforcer. And as always, tighten up, because that's all we know how to do. Good night, y'all.